Okay, it's a little bit loud. My name is Máximo Cavazzani. I'm the CEO and founder of Etermax, the creators of the game Trivia Crack, or Preguntados in Spanish, also here in Spain known for the creation of Apalabrados. Here, I want to talk to you about our main way of monetization in Etermax, which is ads. We are the #1 gaming company in the world regarding ads. And I will start with the history of the company, then some of the findings we had during this period, and then what we see as the future of advertising. Also, we'll add some key strategies in order to make this much more profitable for any company that want to implement ads. And then we'll have some questions for you to ask me, so take this as a starter for a general discussion. So let's start with the company. Etermax started not as a gaming company. We started as a mobile company. We were making financial applications for the world, actually. And then after 2 years, we decided we wanted to make a game. We took everything we knew from before and started thinking about which games we could do that we were good at. And we came up with the idea of Apalabrados, which was very popular, especially in Spain, in which it was installed in one of 2 phones during 2012, and it was the most downloaded application in that year, but it was only in Spain. And it was an application that was fully ad monetized, so no in-app purchases. Actually, there weren't any at the time, but we focused all of our efforts there, because we didn't find a way of monetizing through just buying an application, especially in a market like Spain, or after that Latin America, that is very prone to use games but not that prone to buying things. So after Apalabrados, we made Mezcladitos, and then another game called Bingo Crack. But with Trivia Crack, we became one of the most successful games in history. We were 66 days #1 in the States, #1 in almost all the countries in the Western world, 400 million downloads, and all that without any spending in advertising. So we didn't buy any users, it was all organic. And to this date, Trivia Crack has more than 80% of the revenues from advertising, so we know a lot about that. So let me start with an introduction on the market. So mobile ad spending has been growing through the years, as you see in that chart, and will probably continue growing because of the way the market functions. All the gaming companies in the world have a lifetime value for a user, and then they have a cost of acquisition for that user, and they try to make that positive. So if you have a game that gets $1 per download somehow, with ads, without ads or whatever, and you spend less than that in advertising, then you have a money-making machine. So that's the goal of almost any serious game maker in the world. So ads are very important in that process. And there are not many known games that are heavy on advertising. So we started doing this path alone. We started investigating by ourselves, and we came with a lot of ideas and a lot of techniques that help us grow our revenue through ads. For example, in 2017, this market, the mobile ads, will surpass TV in the world. So imagine TV as the gold standard of advertising till this date. So in 2017, we're going to surpass that. Not us, but the general market, of course. This is advertising in the past and actually in the present. So we have banners, as you see there, interstitials, which are full screen banners, and then video ads, the regular video ads that are just like interstitials, but it's a video and you have to, sometimes you can skip it, sometimes not. People hate that. They hate this kind of ads, the 3 of them, especially the video and the banner. Interstitial are still a good choice for some uses, but generally the problem is that you take space from the user and the interaction is intrusive. That means that you are playing and at some point you're interrupted by an ad, just like in TV. But in the mobile world, that it's much worse because of the curation of the ads too. If you see in television, you have ads that are curated by either the company that's placing the ad or the television show or the channel, whatever. So you have kind of an experience that it's more or less controlled. But the problem with gaming is that developers do not take care of ads. So regularly they end up with AdMob or something like that, and they just get ads from a bag, and they place them. Sometimes they're repeated, sometimes there's content that it's not for everyone, and sometimes they're just bad ads. So some of the keys, some key points that we could remember are, first, it's very important to understand that if you have a game that's has a broad audience, like Trivia Crack, that's different from, for example, Clash of Clans or more specific games, then advertising is key in the monetization, because most of the users won't pay anything. And when I mean most, I mean more than 99% of the users won't pay anything. So if you find a way of monetizing those 99% of your users, then you're probably gonna get a much higher LTV, which is our final goal. Then users do want to see ads if they get something back, something like maybe gems or some currency in the game, some prize or whatever. So it's important to understand that it's not always bad to have ads from a user's perspective. Then the gaming experience, it's very important. That's what I was telling you about before. You need to try to personalize those ads. So you need to make those ads as personalized as you can in order for the user to not feel that something that someone put there, but it's something that it was thought through the game. Then some of the placements will work for some games, some of the techniques will work better, and some not. It's something that you need to understand and something that you need to watch in different kinds of games. And then when you have your own game, you can have an idea of what could work or not, but experimentation is the key here. So experimenting with the ad placements, the frequency, the targets, and all that, it's very important. And it's part of the reason some companies do well and some not in this area. Then try not to, and this is very important, when you're dealing with advertising, you are dealing with SDKs. Those are parts of the program, for the non-developers, I'm speaking, of course, that the ad provider, probably Google, AdColony, Mopub, one of those, they give you like a part of a piece of software that works as an intermediate for their own ads, and they, almost all of them, always have bugs. And if they don't, sometimes you have bugs in the implementation. And that's something terrible for your game. It's not the ad itself, but the problems of the software that comes with the ads, that's the most damaging for your game. And then the last thing that I would mention is, in this experimentation process, it's very important that you hear your users, but not only hearing what they say, because they will say they want no ads, but that's a thing of the industry. But sometimes it works as a way of watching the bags or understanding which of the ads are much more damaging than others, in order to test more things. So those are key points that I would like you to remember if you are starting with this in your own game. Well, here I want to talk to you about the two ways of putting ads in a game. So there's an easy way and there's a hard way. Of course, one is better in some aspects and the other one is better in other aspects. So let me start with the first one, which is the easier way to implement ads is to get just one provider, probably AdMob, or some of those that a really good fill rate, and then just one SDK and the common ad placements, and then you put it in your app. The hard way would be to have 20 providers and start experimenting with them and changing them and talking with the guys that provide the ads and having people around that. So if you see, there are two ways of doing it. Of course, one will give you much more money per user, and that's where you need to aim. And the other one will be easier to start with. But you need to remember that this is not as easy as the ad providers tell you. Just an SDK, 3 minutes, and now you have ads. One of the things that happens, for example, is that ad providers give you very good numbers when you start because they know, and then when they're just in your application, after 1 or 2 months, they start giving you lower and lower prices, lower and lower fill rates, and if you are not there all the time, working with them, changing providers, telling them that you're going to change, or having the ability to do it on the fly, then you're going to lose a lot of money. And when I mean a lot, I mean 2, 3 times more money, not just at 10% more. Then you have other easy versus hard, which is automatic versus direct sales. So automatic would be one of these SDKs that I just told you, and most of the time you cannot get rid of them, especially if you have the amount of ad impressions we have. We have 500 million impressions per day. That's a lot of impressions. So you cannot sell them directly. We could never do that directly, but what we can do is have a space for the direct deals to happen, and that will raise you the bar too. And then other aspect of the easy versus hard would be the standard versus personalized. It's not that easy to make personalized ads, and there are many ways of personalization, but you will get much better results, but of course it will take a lot of much work from your team. So what about Trivia Crack? Trivia Crack is a special case, and that's because sometimes I tell people that Trivia Crack is not a game but a social network, and it's probably true. It's also a game, but the reason I tend to see it as a social network is because one of the things that Trivia Crack does is they get content from the users. So users write the questions, and so actually the game is just about seeing content against other users, against yourself, or against the machine. But it's important to understand that you are consuming content, and when you consume content, you don't consume it the same way as other users. So because of the way you consume content, we can tell a lot of things about you, just like Facebook does with the likes you make. So other companies just have age, geolocalization, gender, and that's all they know about the user. We can know anything we want about the user, or a lot of things. We can know if they like sports because they are liking a lot of sport questions. We can know who they like to play with, if they are very social people or not. We know their ages, but not only because they tell us, but we can also infer it because of the things they watch. Some adults, for example, have a tendency to like kids content and the other way around, and if you know that, then it will be much more easy for you to sell ads that are relevant to the user. So what we use Trivia Crack and the content user generate to get a much better image of the user. And if you go to Nike, for example, and you tell them, well, I have a nice game, would you like to put an ad there? Yes, of course. And which is your audience? The whole world. That's our answer. They don't want to put ads in kids or people that do not like sports or people that are not for that particular product. So if you can sell them that, just a broad audience, they will pay you, let's say, $1. But if you can tell them, I can show you the ad to people between 20 and 30 years in the States that like sports, then they will pay you $10 for the same thing. Of course, you will lose a lot of impressions because in the you will just lose users, but as you can target better, you can sell much more interesting things for the people that are advertising. Same thing with games. If you go to Supercell and want to They might want a certain range of age, a certain spectrum of users, of uses. Then targeting is everything. So everything you can know about the user from your game is very important. And the other important thing about this is, I told you before that 99% of the users do not pay anything, but there's a 1% that does, right? So if you can detect that 1%, you can detect it, of course, very easy when they make the first purchase. But if you can tell before they make the first purchase that they're going to be payers, then you can decide which ads to show, or no ads at all, or just put ads of your own games, or decide much more intelligently which ads to show them. Or for example, do not bombard them with ads for a user that might leave you $100 in in-app purchases. So that's very important too. Then there's the other aspect of advertising, which is you can advertise yourself. You can sell things about your game. You're the best place. For example, let's say in Trivia Crack, the best place to sell the Trivia Crack toys is Trivia Crack itself, because all your users know the brand and they are in love with the brand because that's why they're there. And then you can use it for other places of your product that are not actually applications. For example, there's an ad of a television show we made in Argentina. So understand that you need to fall in love with the problem and not with the solution, and try to think outside the box. And you will find a lot of these opportunities that are not the regular opportunities you get from another provider. These are the current ad formats that are very popular today. One is native. So the thing with native is that it's not that good right now, but the general idea is that you can merge them with your own content. So here you see an Uber ad in the place where you could find the question regularly in Trivia Crack. So it's a much more immersive experience. Then this is called Offer Wall, and it's a way of giving the user something in return for watching an ad or doing something in another game. So that's something that's working very well. But the crown, the king right now, it's video rewards. Video rewards are just videos, just like the videos that I was telling before, but in this case, you choose to see them. You choose to see them because you get something back from the game. I will show you some examples in Trivia Crack, but this is, right now, is the most popular ad format, and it's the format that games that didn't have advertising before are using right now because of the non-intrusiveness. One thing I want to mention is that it's not always obvious the impact of an ad in your game. Although people would say, well, a game with ads against the same game without ads will probably do worse, right? That's the thing that you would think, but that's not the case. For example, in Trivia Crack, we made some experiments, and people showing them ads and do not show differences in retention. And we made some experiments of overloading of ads, for example, showing 5 times more ads, and retention was not touched. So I'm not saying that will happen in all the cases, as I said before, but it's important that you experiment regarding those aspects, because nothing is obvious in gaming, especially in mobile gaming, and in ads, that's much more important than in any other place. So we have other series of integration, which are branded content. For example, we sell content, as I said before, and that content could be personalized for a brand. For example, you could have a question about Toyota, and Toyota could be paying for that. And that's not an ad. It's just content that has been bought by the provider or by the brand, and we put it there. Then tournaments, native custom ads, as I showed before, and then integrations that are, for example, you see a question about Toyota, and then you see a video reward regarding the same thing of the question. Or if the the user answered correctly, then they go to an ad. If they answered wrong, they go to another ad. So all those mechanics are important, and we have been implementing them for a year, and they work very well. And also advertisers like it very, very much. These are some of the placements I was telling you before. So one of the good places, for example, in a game like Trivia Crack to have video rewards are in a daily reward. That's just come to my app and I will give you stuff for free if you watch a video. Some people watch 10 videos in a row, incredibly. Some people do not watch any video, but I mean, in the average, you can make a really good difference. You can have in the store, you could have some of those buttons could be replaced with a video reward. We have that with lives and works very well. Then this one worked very well for us, which is second chance. We give right now in Trivia Crack a second chance after you lose, so you can either pay money with coins or watch a video to continue playing one time, and it's not unfair for the users because we get the same opportunity in both sides. Remember, this is a user-to-user confrontation. And then the same thing for the hints we give for free in the game, or from coins we give it for free with video rewards that work very well. So to finish, I would like to tell you about what I think is the future of advertising. So the future of advertising has to do with the future of the technology itself. So the general trend is artificial intelligence, virtual reality, and augmented reality, voice, which are Google Assistant, Alexa, and all that, and the future of that technology. And also a lot of interaction in the ads. One of the problems with current ads is that they're just static. I know there are some examples of interactive ads, but in the future, the idea is that the ad merges with your own application. And technology is not there right now, but it will be soon, and the experience will be much more immersive for the user. And the reason that's important is because in the long term, it's not about how much ads you can put in your application, but how many of them turn into something that the advertiser wants. So if the advertiser wants the user to download their own game, then it's just about how many downloads you get, not how many ads you show or how many clicks you get. It's how many downloads you get. So if you have an interactive ad, then the engagement will be much more, much stronger, and then you have more downloads, then you have more money. Then regarding voice, we need to start thinking about that, because the future is me being in my home, playing Trivia Crack against a voice in my house, which is the same voice that turns on my lights, that buys something from Amazon, that tells me what happened yesterday or today in the news. So that voice, that will be an omnipresent voice in your life, will need to be monetized, and probably there are a lot of ways of monetizing, but advertising is important and will be important in that case. Then artificial intelligence, not only for, it's important not only for the product, but also it's a technology that's disrupting the advertising industry a lot. And that means a system that understands all the things that I just told you about the behavior of users and the behavior of your own application, and tries these experiments in an automatic way. And then virtual reality and augmented reality will be what replaces, I don't have it here, what replaces here, this will not be present in 10 years in your pocket. So that will be replaced by some glasses that will show you screens everywhere in your arm, in your wall. So understanding that we will not have these screens predefined where you can show ads. Ads will be everywhere. Ads will be content aware. Ads will be everywhere in your vision, because that's the place of augmented reality, is everywhere. So we need to understand that what I should just show you is the past, the present, and the near future. But the far future has to do with this and a lot of other things. So That's more or less the what I wanted to tell you, and now I would like you to make me questions about what I just said. Yes. Sí, cómo no. Yo se la repito si no.
Do you think that freemium model will end up imposed over other models in mobile games?
Can you repeat
The freemium model of making games in mobile?
Yes.
Do you think that will end up imposing over others?
Actually, I think it already did. Most of the games you see in the top grossing are freemium games. Maybe I also think that the next step to that is a freemium model with ads. So many of the successful companies in the world do not use any ads, and they're starting to understand that that's not the way to go. So I think that the freemium model will be complemented by the ad parts. So yes, I fully think that's the way to go. And if an example of that is Super Mario Run. Great game, a lot of downloads, didn't work. And the reason was the model. The model of just play a little bit and then you have to pay a lot do not work. Some of the games, the top grossing games, some people just pay $1, some pay $100, and some pay $10,000. So you cannot do that with just buying a game or buying a part of a game. So that's why the freemium model worked very well, because we are different. We have different wallets. Some people say, for example, tell me, I don't want to pay $2 for an ad-free version. They may play for 2 years in a row, and they don't want to pay half of what a cinema ticket costs. But that will change, and the problem, especially in Latin America and Spain, that's something that it's part of a culture, but it will change. So that's my answer.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Some other? Yes? You can shout, don't worry.
The most interesting observation, which I already knew somehow, but you confirmed it, is that you said that you're not making any money with 99% of your users.
Mm-hmm.
Doesn't that mean that this model is somehow transitional and that we can't just squeeze 1% and leave the 99% in this state where you're asking them to do something but they're not doing it?
Well, what I wanted what I meant by that is not we make a lot of money with that 99% with ads. You cannot make direct money. What I meant is that 99% of the users do not pay directly with in-app purchases. So the freemium model, in my opinion, it's incomplete. And so if you can detect the non-paying from the paying users and you can separate them, and then you can just have two separate economies. It's important, of course, not to alienate those 99%, because those are the ones that bring you other users, which 1 in 100 will be a paying user. But if you can monetize in a way that it's non-intrusive for the user, and sometimes, for example, in video rewards, sometimes you get better results with video rewards than without them, because you give free users the experience of a paying user. For example, instead of just paying $1 for gems, I get 1 video reward and get gems, or 10 video rewards, whatever. So they have that experience, and some experiments show that you get a higher number of paying users when you have video rewards, and at the same time you get more money. So that's why I wanted to say it. It's not that we don't make money from the 99%, but companies like that do not have ads, they might have, instead of 1, maybe 2%, 3% of paying users, but they do not monetize the rest. So I don't know if you answered your question, but that's more or less the idea. If you want to re-ask something else, I'm okay with that. I don't have a good vision, so I cannot see your face from here. But yeah, ask it. Don't worry.
As you mentioned that you don't want to alienate them, so I believe, and it's not really a question, but still keen to hear your opinion on it.
Yeah.
I feel that there's many people that like a lot of the game ideas that are out there and play the games, but they hate the freemium idea.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel a lot of users are unhappy and they're waiting for something to change.
Yes.
They're just not sure what that change is.
You know, one thing I learned, this is my opinion regarding that. Um, People always complain, always. They complained when I was a kid because the Nintendo cartridge costs $60. They complain now because of the freemium model. But the truth is that what's working is the freemium model. You cannot argue with that. Go to the App Store top grossing games and tell me which one of them is freemium and which one of them is paid. They're all freemium. So yes, they might complain, and you could complain also about the advertising in television. But there's no easy solution to that because you need to make money somehow. So and then you have another problem, which is because of this LTV against acquisition cost that I mentioned when I started talking, you cannot make a game that does not make enough money and then try to compete with the games that are making money because they get all the advertising. So you just stick with your own free users, which are very few, and Trivia Crack was the most downloaded application in the world without any advertising. But it's just one case in history. There's no other case in history with that success without any advertising. So the trend now is to spend in advertising, and if you spend $1, you need to get $1 back, because if not, you're making money. I understand people is complaining about the way of the ads. I don't think ads will disappear, but maybe if you get better non-intrusive ads, if I show you ads that you care about, things that you care about, then your feeling regarding the game will be better. But of course, there's nothing perfect. So if you take this into account, you'll get better results. That's an opinion, but that's mine. Any other question? Yeah.
About that?
Yeah, it's not that they're bad. Well, they're bad. They're bad programmed. I'm an engineer, so I'm very keen on that. So there are a few things regarding SDKs. If you have just one built by Google, then you're okay. But if you have 20 SDKs, then you have first a problem of size. Each of them has between 1 and 10 megabytes. So if you add up, there's a lot for an application that shouldn't surpass 100 megabytes. Then you have a problem that they are constantly updating because this is a competition between them, and in each of the updates, you get bugs. And if they have a bug, and you put it in your code, then that bug might shut down your application, not just not show an ad. They can just shut down your whole application, or for example, not showing ads for a couple of days for us is losing millions of dollars. So that's what I meant by SDKs. And then you have the problem of updating them, which they update it like once a month, and it takes time from your development team. And then the other problem is that how you need, if you have many of them, you need software to mediate through them, right? Either you use a mediation like AdMob or MoPub, or both like we do, and you mediate the mediation. So it's much more complicated. And in all that, you get bugs. So that's part of
so the mediation, you make that
we make mediation between mediations, and then we have the providers. That's because we want more money from, we want to become more efficient. But that's something we are a more or less big company. We're 250, so we can do those kinds of things. But for some of the developers that are just 5, imagine if just one of the developers has to be there implementing SDKs. I mean, you're just losing 1/5 of your programming power. So that's more or less the scenario.
Thanks.
Thank you. Any other? Yes. It does not. Don't worry. There's a lot of variation of the money you get from for example, Argentinian user against a USA user. In our case, it's more or less 8 times. But because of the nature of advertising in gaming, which is, let's say, it's a simplification, but let's say all your ads are from Machine Zone. Then Machine Zone will pay for users, right? That's what they pay for. But if the users spend 8 times less in Argentina than in the United States, then they are worth 8 times less, right? So ads are 8 times less profitable. It's not exact, but more or less you see that pattern through the world. So what we see in our games is that it doesn't the percentage of one of another, it's about 80-20. What does happen is that it changes through the year. So for example, in the Western world, through the last part of the year especially, you get like much higher ECPMs because of Christmas, because of the competition, and then around May you have the worst part. In Latin America, then some are shifted because of the seasons or whatever, but more or less it's much more important through the year than in different countries.
That situation that you describe now, it's even worse in Spain, in this country.
No, it's not even worse. In Spain, is more or less 1-4 against the USA. In Latin America, it's 1-8. That changes over time, of course. When I started with Apalabrados, for example, Spain was our first market, and then in advertising in Latin America was almost non-existent. So it was like just, we were popular there, but we don't care, even if we live there. But yes, the more sophisticated an economy it is in terms of app store, I would say the States, Japan, China, Germany, France, Spain, then Paraguay, Uruguay, you know? So that's more or less the idea. And that's just because of many factors, but one of the first that's very important in Latin America and even Spain is the amount of people that have have bank accounts. So if they don't have, for example, in the States it's 100%. They all have credit cards. In Latin America it's 25%. So there you lose like a fourth, 3/4 of your users. So yeah, Spain is not the worst case. Inside Europe is not the best, of course, but it's much better than Latin America.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Yes.
Today we have advertisement in phone games, in YouTube, in a lot of new media that has a lot of more views than any traditional media. But a lot of advertisement companies still pay a lot more for TV commercials and all that kind of stuff. Whether you need a lot more views on YouTube or phone games to make the same amount of money. Do you think this need to change? This is gonna change, or what's your opinion on this?
Yeah, first, it's true. The explanation is status quo. They've just been spending in advertising, TV advertising for 20 years, and then we come and say we are better, and they don't believe us. But it's not only they need less views. We can give them, if you sell an ad in TV, you don't know who you're selling to. You just have viewers. We can tell you which viewer, if they view it, if they had interactions, it's much more richer. You get better results. But still, it's the mainstream had been TV. But in 2015, we made the first exclusive content contract with Google AdMob. And the reason they did that with us, and that was a very good contract for us, is because they started seeing a changing pattern. For example, Burger King started saying, hey, I want to be in Eurocrack. Hey, but you told me that you didn't want to be in any game. Yeah, but people are using more Eurocrack than watching TV. In the States, we had 20 million daily active users in 2015. We were the most downloaded application in that year. So it's just, you need some use cases for people to understand that the shift is happening. And you see that right now. I started this talk telling you that TV, this year for the first time, the spending in TV is less than the spending in mobile games. And that will, of course, change through the course of the years. But also, there's a problem of how the industry is structured. There's a lot of middlemen in this that will disappear, and they don't want to disappear. So they're struggling, and they try to sell you something 10 times more than what it's worth in order to just to keep their jobs. But yes, eventually it will disappear. I'm sure of that. Yes. Yes? Ah, sorry. Yeah, you can.
You talk about different ways of advertisement, but I think, if I'm not wrong, you don't talk about the way, the method of you put some advertisements, some videos, for example, and then you have the option to buy the complete game.
Yes.
What do you think about it in mobile games?
I don't think I understand.
So you have the
In Spanish? You want to Spanish?
bueno, que tienes la aplicación con el juego con diferentes, o sea, con anuncios, y luego puedes comprar el juego completo para no tener estos anuncios. Entonces, hay como diferentes, has hablado de diferentes métodos de...
Yes.
¿Qué piensas de ese?
Yes, he's asking about the non-advertised version of a game, right? Like we do, like in Trivia Crack. Well, in Trivia Crack you can play the game with ads, and then just pay and have no ads. That's what you're telling?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's not a model of advertising. It's just a model of it's a freemium model, one of the freemium models. It's just yes, it's a way. It's just some of the companies give the user a choice. Some as for the users that are complaining, we say, hey, just pay $2, and you can have forever the version without ads. You know, they still complain. That's why it's important to understand that when you're viewing the users and what they tell you about the game, you need to take it with a little bit of salt, because not always that information is useful. I don't know if I answered your question, but
yeah, but there's a bueno, hablo en español, da igual. Sí, pero hay un punto en que cuando tú comentas... espera, que me planteo la pregunta. O sea, eso soluciona hasta un punto, pero cuando tú tienes power-ups o cosas para vender, luego, claro, ¿cómo calculas? O sea, esto lo vas a tener que vender igualmente. Tú puedes comprar el no tener anuncios, pero luego los power-ups y todo eso lo tienes que seguir vendiendo. Por eso imagino que los usuarios pues no están contentos igualmente, ¿no?
Yes.
No sé si...
Yeah, I understand, but the model you're talking about is the Super Mario Run model, right? You play a few levels, then you have to pay $10 for the rest of the game, and you don't pay anything else in your life. That's the model you're talking about.
But if you think there is a mix...
There's always a mix, but you need to understand that if you have an idea that sounds too good to be true, and it's an easy to think idea, and it's not being used by the industry, then it might be wrong, because there's a lot of companies. Think of a company like Etermax, 250 people all thinking, optimizing, trying things. We make hundreds of experiments per month. We tried everything. So if it didn't work, it's for a reason. I'm not saying we know everything or whatever, but it didn't work because the money you get in the long term is less, much less. So it's not always about the user not complaining. For example, let's say in the 80s with the $60 cartridge from Nintendo, they could have put it in at $2. Why not? It's just software, right? They could develop the game and just sell it for $2. Why didn't they do it? Do you imagine with that scenario that the users wouldn't be much more happy having Super Mario for $2 instead of 60? But the truth is that they cannot pay to the developers. They cannot do the marketing. It just doesn't work. So we need to understand that if you want to do games for fun, great. I like games too. I like to program. I do it for fun. But if you want to build a business upon building games, then you need to understand that this is a business. People do not like some of the things that are part of a business, but if you don't have no business, then you go out of business. So that's it's just something that you need to understand. So my answer is, it didn't work. Okay. Okay. No more questions. Ivan said. So thank you very much for coming. If you have any other questions, then you can find me at Twitter, mail, whatever. Thank you.